Now that we know the structure of the module pattern, we're going to look at dividing the random video player app up into modules. So first, let's talk about the best way to break this up. Then we will do one file together, and then you will finish the other files as part of an exercise. So first, how are we going to divide this up? Well, when I take a look at main.js and I take a look at the different functionality that is in there, this is what I think is a logical breakup into modules. One is videoplayer.js. That's the one we'll do together. Now, inside of this JavaScript file, we're going to have everything that is required in order to play a video. So the play pause button, the stop button, the controller, the timer, the video player itself, all of those things and the functions that work with those elements are going to be part of this file. Then we'll have another file, randomvideo.js, and this will simply contain the functionality that has to do with randomizing the video. And then, of course, we have 4 utilities that are part of this, and we can place those in their own module. And that way we can use those utilities in other places, just like we could use the video player in another place if we chose to. So the utilities will go in their own file. And I've called that file ATJS. The only reason I did that is because utilities is pretty general, and it would be easy to encounter another file that was named that. So I wanted it to be a bit unique. So I added ATJS, all things JavaScript, on the front. Just kind of designates the company utility, something along that lines. And then finally, we're still going to have a little bit of code in main.js. Now, we'll deal with main.js after the exercise. So we'll do video player together. I'll have you do the next 2 by yourself, and then we'll go through them together, and at the end of that, we'll talk about main.js. So let's jump to Visual Studio Code and get started. So first thing I want to do is create the files that we're going to be using. So I'm just inside of the JS folder, I'm going to right click and we will set up videoplayer.js. And I'm going to do random video now. So new file, random video.js. And then let's do our utility, ATJS utilities.js. So there's our 3 new files. Now, inside of videoplayer.js, let's go ahead and start setting that up. Now, first thing I want to do is set up the pattern, the namespace module pattern, the thing that will contain the module and also that will prevent it from overriding something that's on the global space. So let's go ahead and set that up. I'm going to call it video player, and we're going to set that equal to function. Here's our structure. And then down here, we're going to immediately invoke it. Now notice that I didn't include the parentheses around function in here. The reason that is no longer necessary is because we have this part at the start. If we were doing an immediately invoke function expression where the first thing is the paren or the word function, then we would need that parentheses, that left parentheses. But in this case, we don't need it because we're going to have this return something and place it into video player. Now, in order that we don't disrupt something that may be on the global space named video player, we're going to add this part here. So if video player exists, it's going to pass it in. If it doesn't exist, it's going to pass in an empty object. Now remember, in order for that to work, we have to use var as our variable declaration. Let or const will not allow that to work because of hoisting difference that is in play. Now, since we're passing these in, we need to create a variable to accept that. I'll just call it VP. So there we have our pattern set up. Now, one thing I like to do is I like to use strict inside the function, just to improve my code, make sure that I'm not doing anything that could cause problems. Now, we've got all that, and what we want to do is go to main.js and pull out all of the video stuff. So I'm going to go there first. We'll get the declarations first. We're going to go down to this, to the controller. Randomized button is going to be in the random video module. So I'm going to copy that out, come back. Let's go ahead and paste that in. Put a semicolon after it. There's our declarations. Let's jump back again. We're going to grab the functions, the video functions. So I'm going to come down here. I'll start there and select down to where it's randomized video. I'm going to cut that out. I should be cutting these out. I'll leave those in there for now. But I've got to remove them at some point anyway, so I just as well cut them out. There we have the video functions. And now the last thing I need to grab are the event listeners that are set up. So if I come down here, I'm just going to select all of them right now. I don't need the randomized button one, so I'll remove that once I paste this in. So I'm going to copy that. And then I can go ahead and remove those. Remove these. Come over here and paste that in. I'm going to put a comment in here. And I'm going to remove this one, the randomize button. I don't need that one in this module. Okay. Let me come over to main.js. I'm just going to remove everything, the declarations here, except the randomize button, since I've got those in another module now. So there's videoplayer.js. We got everything in that we need, but now, in addition to transferring stuff, we need to export some things. And specifically, we're going to export video stop and export video play pause. So let's go ahead and set that up. I'm going to do a comment, export public methods, and then we're simply going to return an object. And we want to make sure that we include this as a part of our object. So if there was something in video player and we passed it in, we want to make sure that is included in this object. So we do that with the spread operator like that. And now we can export the other two methods, video play pause and video stop. And we can do that with the concise syntax that's available. So video play pause and video stop. All right, so that will make those available outside of this module. Everything else in here will be private, but those two things are functions that we may want to allow something else to control. And we know that with random video, we're going to need to have access to those anyway. So making those public are important. All right, let's go ahead and save that and save main.js where it is. And now I'm going to turn the remainder two files over to you, the randomvideo.js and the atjs utilities.js. So let me just put comments in here to indicate what needs to be done. So for random video, you will set up module pattern and make sure you include the namespace so that we don't cause issues on the global environment. Then you'll insert random video code. So any code that has to do with the random video, you'll insert that in. And then finally, what you want to do is export or make public. I use export because we're talking about modules, so that's kind of a module term, but really you're making them public. Export randomized video. That's the one you want to export for this. All right, and then in the utilities, same sort of thing. Set up module pattern, the iffy, and the passing in of the variable you declare with var. So that's our module pattern. You'll insert the utility functions. And then finally, you'll make public or export all functions. So we want all 4 of those public that are inside of the utilities. All right, take some time to complete that. And when you're done, move on to the next topic. We'll go through it together, and then we'll also finish up with some changes on main.js.